Hello, everyone. I'm Julianne Meyer. You are watching Own Your Wellness, and I have to apologize in advance. I am having an allergic reaction to something that's upstairs right now. And so if I sniffle or have to use a Kleenex, I apologize, but it has nothing to do with anything. I'm perfectly fine. It was self-inflicted, unfortunately. But here we are. Anyway, enough about that. I'm really excited about today's guest. Wait until you guys meet her. She's amazing, a powerhouse, an inspiration, all sorts of wonderful things, and so kind. I should have mentioned that first because I think that that's probably the most important thing is how kind-hearted she is and what a heart of service she has. Without further ado, let me introduce you to Dr. Trina. Dr. Trina, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So
I'm happy.
excited to have you here. You know, I started stalking you online and your pictures alone. I was like, dang, I got to talk to this woman. She's impressive. You are so physically fit but the most important thing is you look happy and genuinely happy. And that's what attracted me to you. But I would love for you to, start things off with telling us a bit about yourself and your own wellness journey.
I'm a pediatrician. I am a mother. I am a grandmother. I'm an author. And I also compete in fitness competitions. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. And my wellness journey began really back in the summer of 1972. I can vividly remember, sitting downstairs, lacing my tennis shoes up, getting ready to go play kickball with everyone on the block. But the television was on in the background. And when I looked up, that's when I saw her. And that woman was Olga Korbut. She was the Russian gymnast back in the 72 Olympics. And when I saw her, I'm like, she just done a no hand backflip on the balance beam. And I said, I want to do that. Never had seen gymnastics before. So I called my mother. I said, come down here, come down. You got to see Olga. Of course, my mother said, who is Olga? And, we're watched the entire, gymnastics, women's gymnastics on television. Once it was over, I immediately got our yellow pages, start looking for gymnastics clubs in Oakland, California. There were none. So I had my mother at that moment take me to the Berkeley Public Library where I checked out 12 phone books of cities in the surrounding area to see if I could find a gymnastics club. Well, lo and behold, I found a club in Walnut Creek, California, about a 25 to 30-minute car ride from my home. And the rest is history. I was obsessed. I did gymnastics every day of the week. And on Sundays, when there was no gymnastics classes, I asked my mom to buy me a balance beam so I could place it in the backyard so I can continue to practice. So that's how my wellness journey started.
I love that. I want to give your mom proper kudos for supporting you in something so wonderful because a lot of parents would be like 25, 30 minutes. Yeah, I don't think so. Balance beam, I don't think so.
Right.
So that's amazing. I just love that. Did you compete competitively or was this more just the love and it didn't matter what it looked like?
I did compete competitively and moved up the ranks quickly. I was fortunate enough to receive a scholarship to Stanford University where I competed. I was actually just found out 2 years ago that I was the first African-American female gymnast to compete for Stanford. So yeah, it was, I competed from 1978 to 80. In 1980, I was fortunate enough to break the school record for vaulting. And at the end of 1980, unfortunately, I had a career-ending knee injury. So I had to decide, am I going to get this obviously repaired, rehab, try to continue? Because there was only 2 years left of gymnastics being a sophomore, or was I going to move on and go to medical school? And I chose to go on to medical school.
I love that, but that didn't stop your athleticism at all, did it?
No, so when I, decided when I went to medical school in St. Louis, I went to Washington University School of Medicine, and I met my husband there, and he was an ex-athlete from Vanderbilt. He played football at Vanderbilt. In fact, a funny story, we both had the same knee injury, same scar, and they don't make scars like that anymore the way cut. So anyway, it was kind of funny to hear that we had the same injury. But when we got to medical school, we're like, medical school is so busy and a lot of time consuming. How would we stay in shape, or how would we not let our careers sabotage our health? That was the question. So we thought about, we knew we needed to be fit, but how are we going to do this? The gym was out. That was just too time consuming. So we invested in a stationary bike, and every day before class, I would ride that for 20 minutes while I read over my notes. Then we would walk to school, and when we walked, we just played this little game. We're going to go fast for a couple minutes, then we're going to slow down, fast, slow down. And it was interesting. We didn't know that was interval training, but doing that back in the day, and like the round trip was about 3 miles. So just those little things we implemented, helped us to stay, in shape.
Well, the other thing, oh, sorry, go ahead.
At that juncture. So go ahead. I'll let you answer.
No. I was just going to say, I want to mention the mental aspect of that too. How good that must have been for you mentally as well, to have that outlet, and to, with the bike. And it's not like you were still studying, or to have that time with your husband or future husband. I don't know if you were married yet, but right. To have that time together, just going to school.
Oh yes, it was how should I say? It was almost like a meditative state. I mean, we were walking in brisk weather, and then just to be able to be to talk about anything that was on your mind, to get it off, it was just a good time with my husband. And we're able to get some exercise in. So it was a win-win situation. Now, after medical school and residency, so then we went into my 30s, okay? And 2 more obstacles presented itself. Number one, we're full-time real physicians, and I had twin boys. So those were 2 other obstacles. And once again, we always said, we're not going to let our careers or our life sabotage our health and wellness. And when the twins came, it was overwhelming. But like I said, when they were young, I would put that same bike next to my bed. I would breastfeed one, and then I had my breast milk actually in a bottle, and the other son was in the carrier. So I was feeding both twins while riding the bike, and it worked. It worked. And that way I didn't have to make an extra time to do my workout. It was kind of merged within that in my day.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Absolutely. And then go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I want to hear what you have to say.
And then when they became toddlers, we bought those fence like from Walmart or Target to keep them contained. They knocked those down. That didn't work. So I took all the furniture out of my living room and had a wrought iron fence built around it. I put a jungle gym, anything they can play on and climb on. Okay. Then around the jungle gym, around the fence that I created, I put my exercise equipment. And so when they were in there playing and climbing, I would work out so I could see them. I could be right there. But the beauty of the whole thing, they saw me working out. They were climbing on that jungle gym, having fun, but in reality, they were working out too. So they were able to see the importance of physical activity at a young age.
I adore that. I just think that is so fabulous, because there's so many, and I'm not trying to mom shame or anybody shame in any way, shape, or form, because motherhood is a full-time, amazing job, experience, all of the positive things. And I also know that a lot of people are so tired that they use that as their excuse not to necessarily take care of themselves. I mean, I do it with other things, so
Yes.
I'm not trying to if it's kids, it could be something else. It doesn't necessarily have to be children that keep us from taking care of ourselves. So, I just love that you just sort of, integrated this into their lives as well, because aren't they pretty athletic?
Yes, they're, so once I can share this story. Once I got to my 40s, they were like raring to go into sports. So, the first sport was gymnastics. I thought that was good because it teaches them balance, agility, control. So that was the first sport they did. Then we moved on to soccer, obviously for foot action, and it's good as a transition to other sports. So we did soccer for a while. We did football only for one season. I wasn't a big football fan just because of all the things that go along with that. But the good thing, they did it when everyone was the same size in the 5th grade. Kids hadn't gone through puberty, so we didn't have these big kids. And so anyway, did that. Then they finally landed their sport, which was basketball. They told me in the 6th grade, Mommy, I want to play Division I basketball at Stanford. And I'm kind of looking like, you're my height. Not looking good. So, but thankfully they had a growth spurt when they were like in 11th grade, and they, fulfilled their dream. They both played for Stanford University from 2013 to 2017, and we're actually the 3rd set of twins to play on the men's basketball team there.
That's amazing. I can't believe there's so many twins actually that
Yes.
play. That's pretty impressive. Huh. I did not know that. That's pretty amazing. Something that we haven't touched on about your wellness journey that I'd love for you to talk about a little bit is, we've talked about movement and exercise, but what about what you were feeding yourself? Not only food, but I mean, obviously you were in school a lot of the time, but what else did you feed yourself mentally and emotionally?
Oh yeah. So a couple things. So as far as the food aspect, nutrition is huge. And unfortunately, back in my era in medical school, they didn't teach nutrition, believe it or not. I had to teach myself. And I've always, I should say, been a person who really thought that, eating fruits and vegetables and whole grains are important. And this stems back to my mother. So my mother, back in the 70s, unfortunately, my dad was diagnosed with an uncurable leukemia. And my mom, she did everything. She went to health fairs. She juiced wheatgrass. She juiced juices. Now, back in the day, wheatgrass, most people hadn't heard of that, right? So we had a wheatgrass juicer. So my mom would make all, like I said, the wheatgrass and vegetable and fruit drinks back in the day. So she was well ahead of her time. And so that pretty much set the tone for me on, about eating right and including a lot of, fresh produce in your diet. And as a pediatrician today, I recommend, the most, well-studied diet out there is the Mediterranean diet, which focuses on fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. And if you eat meat, they recommend your omega-rich fish, like your salmons, your tunas, your mackerels. So that's what I promote. And I tell patients, you want to make sure the majority of your plate is plant-based or produce.
I love that. It's not very often that you hear a physician know so much about nutrition. And I just love that you were taught at an early age. I want to also commend your mom again, because, oh my goodness, that was definitely, people must have thought she was crazy.
Yes. They were like, what is this green? They come to our house. Right, exactly. And then you would see this, wheatgrass juicers back then were huge. They were gigantic. Like, what is this? So yes.
My mom, that's funny, because my mom was definitely ahead of her time too. And she would talk about things and people thought she was insane. And it turns out she was right. Everybody else, it took a while to get, get to her.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I appreciate that. Man, what a woman. Yeah,
Yes.
the apple does not fall far from the tree. So
She's pretty amazing. She's pretty
yeah,
amazing. Yes.
sounds like it, but so are you. And I just love that. Something that I want to highlight that not everybody who's watching is aware yet because we haven't touched on it, but your education and your learning didn't stop with medical school.
Right. So after, once I completed medical school, I decided to educate myself, like I said, with nutrition. I've taken courses through the U of A with Dr. Andrew Weil, which is a leader in the organic plant-based foods and holistic healing. So I just took it upon myself, since I didn't learn this in medical school, and I knew that this was important. I've also taken courses through Cornell on plant-based medicine. So it's all about continuing to learn. You can't stop learning because you want to be fresh and you don't want to become obsolete. So that's my goal.
I think that that's amazing. And before we go to commercial break, I really want to touch on the fact that you're an author.
Yes.
So I would love for you to share a little bit about that.
Yeah. So during the pandemic, first of all, before the pandemic, I was volunteering. I volunteered with Volunteers in Medicine of Southern Nevada, taking care of children who were either, lost in the cracks, or parents had, a catastrophic, medical issue or job loss. So taking care of those children is what I did. Once the pandemic hit, then that kind of, closed down. So I said, let me write a book. And I wrote a book called KISS. And it stands for Keep It Short and Simple for a Healthy, Sustainable Lifestyle. So in that book, I talk about simple ways to stay fit, because a lot of people in our country, let's face it, they don't like to work out. And a lot of people, they'll look at, oh, I don't have an hour, 30 minutes to spend at a gym. Okay, so what I think and believe is helpful is doing exercise in, short, digestible chunks throughout the day, merging it with your day. So I often tell my patients, my prescription is 15 minutes twice a day or 10 minutes 3 times a day. Okay, because to me, it's easier to wrap your mind around short segments of exercise versus one long, segment. So I talk about that, and I talk about, interval training, because interval training breaks up the monotony of just going at one pace. So I tell people to use music, do chair aerobics to mix it up. But the key thing is exercise is cumulative, and it doesn't have to be done in one block. And that's what I like to get across. And also in the book, we talk about, fitness as it relates to the heart, as it relates to the mind. We talk about, I give recipes on my favorite plant-based recipes. I have a workbook at the end of the book where people can actually implement the things that they learn throughout the book within the workbook. And at the very end, I have an appendix, which is a pantry makeover. So basically, I tell people, you don't have to stop eating your favorite foods, but you do need to change the ingredients. And even I had Hispanic patients, with Latin food or with African-American and soul food. It's what you put in it, but you can still eat your favorite foods. So I give patients, I give people, like I said, a extensive list of pantry makeover items.
I love that. And people can find this on Amazon, correct?
Yes, they can find that on Amazon. And just recently, last year, I wrote another book called The Sugar Seduction. And what really prompted me to write that book were my patients. When I would take a history, they would say, you know what? I said, what did you eat for breakfast at school? And what do you eat for lunch? Well, they said for breakfast, the school gave them a Cinnabon or a cinnamon roll. So I said, okay, I need to address this issue. So I wrote a book about the sugar seduction, talking about all the harmful effects of sugars. And then I looked at the top 25 restaurants that most Americans frequently visit. And I chose the top 5 foods that are the worst, and then the top 5 that were the best if you're going to eat at those restaurants. So those are the 2 books.
I love that. That's amazing. We do need to go to a commercial break, so we'll be back in just a minute. For those of you who are watching us live, just want to say thank you so much for being here. When we come back, we're going to continue along Dr. Trina's journey and hear some more about, what it's like to be healthy and how health is our wealth. So we'll be back in just a minute.
Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversations. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Welcome back, everyone. As I was watching the commercials, I was thinking about how hard the music was and intense, and then all of a sudden, it's kind of funny. Anyway, let's bring back our guest, Dr. Trina. Welcome back. Thank you so much for being here today. It just dawned on me. I don't know why I never noticed that before, but anyway. So we've been talking, a lot about how you have approached life and, your wellness journey, which I find inspirational because, like you mentioned before about, people saying, I don't have an hour and a half to go to the gym. All these things, you have fought through the typical excuses and found solutions, just kept going until you found something that worked. And anybody can do that. So I love that. Yeah, I love that you're showing that. And I'm just curious if there's anything, even with any other health or wellness ideas or tips that you have sort of turned it on its head and been able to work through.
Yes, like I said, I love, I do chair aerobics. I do a lot of my workout at home because what I find by the time you get in the car, drive to the gym, find a park, then get in there and your equipment is being used, you could have finished your workout. So I, a strong proponent of, I use, resistant bands. I have joint issues from being in gymnastics. So this morning I did chair aerobics and I used the resistance bands with that. I use the, small weights on my arms and legs. So I get a total body workout. Not only am I getting cardio, but I'm getting strength. And I've incorporated in that chair routine stretching. So to me, it's all in one. And I like to propose that to, my patients or to people who read my book, because I guess I give the analogy such as this. So when you're shopping at Target, you can buy clothes, food, and electronics, right? Mm-hmm. All in one. as opposed to going to Trader Joe's for food, Best Buy for electronics, and Macy's for clothes. It just makes sense to do everything together, especially if you're not an exercise person, but we all need to have some level of fitness. So that's why I say I like preaching to those people who just don't exercise at all. Or they ask me, well, how do you do it? I say, you can do it, but you have to make sure that you do it in such a way that you can wrap your mind around it. That's why I like the 10 minutes 3 times a day, 15 minutes twice a day. And I tell people, you can get up in the morning, you can do 10 minutes of chair aerobics. But what you need to do, you need to have visual cues, which I call activators, so to speak. So when you wake up in the morning in my living room or my family room, I have my folding chair there, my resistance bands, and my tennis shoes there. So when I walk by, I see that. That's my cue. Or I'll have affirmations around my house. My favorite one is, "It seems impossible until it's done," by Nelson Mandela. I just have, like I said, that, or even pictures of myself, pictures that in my, competition, or pictures that I like of myself. Those are like activators or visual cues to make me want to go do my exercise. So I think that's really important to have those, like I said, visual cues to motivate you or inspire you. Okay, I see that chair there. I know I'm only going to need 10 minutes this morning to work out before work. Then once you get to work, I like telling people, after every 50 to 55 minutes of sitting, get up and walk briskly around your office for 90 to 120 seconds. You can incorporate a little bit of stretching with that. And at the end of the day, after 8 hours, that's almost 14 to 16 minutes. And then at home, after eating dinner, go take a 10-minute walk. Because we know the American Council of Exercise say for minimally, we need to get in 30 minutes of moderately physical activity per day for 5 days out of the week, so 150 minutes per week. So if you do that, that doesn't seem as daunting if you break it up like that. And as we know, it is cumulative. And I think back in the 70s or late 60s, there was a epidemiologist named, I think it's Paffenbarger, who did some studies he looked at some Harvard students and University of Penn students, looking at their workout routine. And at the end of the day, he found out that it doesn't have to be one sitting. It can be, segments, and it's cumulative. So I think that's important for people to understand, because most people say, if you say, why don't you work out? I don't have time.
Yeah.
That's the main reason. And you tell me you don't have time for 10 minutes, something is wrong.
Well, especially as you're sitting down watching Netflix.
Exactly. Right. Absolutely.
I don't want to bag on Netflix, but that's, everybody knows that.
But I have another thing. Even say if I want to watch television, I have my stretch out strap right by the TV, and behind my couch, I have a slant board where I can just stand mindlessly, watch TV or what I'm watching, sports or the news, while I'm stretching my Achilles and my calves. So I can sit there and stretch with my stretch out strap. So you just got to make good use of your time.
Well, also, I love this idea of, combining, say, watching TV, because that seems to be a big one that us Americans tend to do, myself included. But, combining it with a healthy activity, or for me, there was a time when I, was obsessed with YouTube videos. So, but it was an issue, like a time issue. I was spending too much time. So I combined it with working out. I was allowed to watch YouTube videos when I was working out, like on the treadmill or something, because then I'm not spending an exorbitant time just sitting there staring, I'm doing something. So I love this idea of incorporating stretching while you're watching TV, or, just adding, like you said, with your kids. I love that one. That is such a phenomenal example of, making it work.
Yes.
I love that.
And another thing I want to go back to with kids, when my kids got older, obviously I became the chauffeur to practices and games. And when I did that, I would get to the practice everyone would be scrolling on their phones, chit-chatting. I worked out. So when they worked out, I worked out. When they were done working out, I was done. And it gives you more time, because then when you get home, you got to do the homework thing, you got to do the food thing. And then inevitably you're not going to have time to work out, and it gets put on the bottom of the to-do list. So
yeah, or you're just tired.
Exactly. You're just tired. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love the habit combining. I think that is such a good way to motivate, because, like for me, that's my carrot sometimes. Like if I,
Right. Exactly.
hey, I like that. And then also the idea of, having those visual cues, and even, mantras or inspirational, aspirational, comments and quotes and anything like that, because it really, for me, I do the same thing. And whenever I sort of get into a mood, I just look up, for example, and there's something to remind me.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh yeah. Okay. I got this. I forgot. I got this. So, you mentioned too that you compete, and that is a whole nother level of amazingness. And are you able to do that with your chair aerobics, or do you do other things on top of that to prepare for competitions?
Yeah, to prepare for competitions, like I said before, it's a habit. It's something you do every day. But here's the thing. As we age, I cannot do the things I did in my 40s or 50s, right? But I mean, train, because people think, okay, you got to train, these 3 times a week, doing 5 routines, 3 times a week. That's 15 routines. I did that in my early 40s. Now I'm down to 3. So it's quality over quantity. So, and I just make it a point. I say, okay, Trina, you're going to do 3 handstands a day, but you can't miss. So you need to do 3 in a row well. And that mindset makes me want to do it right, because I don't want to start over again. So you play little mind games with yourself. I mean, I used to say when I was in my 40s, you got to do 10 in a row. And if you miss, you got to start over. So now it's between 3 and 5, 3 to 5 in a row. If you miss, you have to start over. And I'm telling you, playing those mind games like that, I don't miss very often, because I don't want to do it again. So I, like I said, for most days, like this morning, I did my chair aerobics, and my chair aerobics, includes aerobic dancing. I use the resistance bands around my thighs. So when I'm moving from side to side, I'm working my legs. I do jump jacks with that. I, move down to the floor like in a downward dog and do push-ups, come back up. So it uses strength. And like I said, I also incorporate flexibility and dance. And I do that I did this morning for 20 minutes. And then after that, I love doing the 7-minute workout app. It's free. It incorporates cardio and strength. And it's just good to use, because say if you're at a hotel that doesn't have a good fitness center, all I need is a chair, and I'll do my chair aerobics, 2 or 3 times, or I'll walk the stairs at the hotel. And so there's so many different ways that you can get it in. So I just make it a point to keep my upper body strong, because I have a lot of, handstands. I still do cartwheel back handsprings, and it requires strong arms and shoulders.
Yeah, you have beautiful arms. I gotta say, it's really impressive, and I want to, say too, that it comes back to all these excuses that we tell ourselves, because, my fiance is a personal trainer as well. I am as well, but he does it full time. And he has this one particular client. She's, I think, 65 now. And this woman is so impressive. I mean, she can do 40 military push-ups, no problem. No, I mean, it's like, doesn't even make her sweat. her idea of a warm up is throwing a bag of sand on her back and running stairs, and everybody's like, oh,
Right.
but that's, it's because, and there's always some sort of an excuse. I'm just like, no, because she actually makes the effort. That's the difference.
Yeah, you make you make the effort. I write down what is my workout going to be today? Mm-hmm. And I find my day typically starts with meditation and some prayer. I like that gets me going. I love the Insight Timer app. It uses a gong instrument to help you, get in that state immediately. Because otherwise I'll have thousands of thoughts, what I have to do today, what I have to do tomorrow. So that really helps me focus and get grounded for that moment. And then I get into my physical activity. And I like for me, mornings are best. So I do my workout.
I'm glad that you mentioned that you have, a way that you start your day, because in order for you to, let me start over. There's so many people out there that are so afraid of structure and routine because they think it's going to interfere with their freedom somehow. But I've always discovered that having that kind of structure for myself has allowed me to have more freedoms in my life.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And by having that structure, it kind of clears your mind to help you have more clarity and creativity. Mm-hmm. So I agree 100%.
No, I think that's, yeah. No, I love that. I popped up your IG because I haven't popped it up yet. What can people find here when they, come and research you?
So when they come on my IG, typically every Tuesday morning, I talk about a health topic. We're in May is mental health awareness. So yesterday I spoke about, mass shootings and mental health. I was just in Atlanta, a couple weeks ago, not less than a couple weeks ago. And I just finished working out. I was in the, getting dressed to go to lunch. And I hear the TV in the background said, we have another mass shooting. And I'm thinking, where is this? And it says Atlanta. I'm like, then my ears perked up. And then it said, it's on Peachtree Street. And I looked at the phone because it has the address. I said, I'm on Peachtree Street. So that was like a freakish moment. So I said, okay, let me stay tuned to the news to make sure, they've caught this guy, but it just disrupted my whole day. So anyway, I thought I would talk about, mass shootings and mental health. Last month, I talked about stress because April is Stress Awareness Month. So typically I choose a topic, whatever that month is about, like March is colon cancer. We talked about that. And we just, tell people, what it is, what the symptoms are, what to do about it, how to be proactive and preventive, right diet for whatever the issue is. So just trying to educate people.
I love that. And it sounds bite-sized. So it's not, because I know, what is it? The attention span of people is 8 seconds or something. I don't even know what's accurate anymore, but it's not very long. So I love this idea of bite-sized, because then people will actually be there for it and hear you.
Exactly. So yeah, I post that on Facebook and Instagram.
Perfect. We do need to go to another commercial break. So we're going to be back in just a minute. And I already said hello to everybody who is watching us live. Now it's my turn to say hello to everybody who's watching us on demand. Thank you so much for being here. When we come back, we are going to continue this conversation about wellness, what it looks like, and the things that we can do for ourselves to streamline life. We'll be back in just a minute.
When drug or alcohol addiction take over, things begin to disappear. Your friends, your family, and eventually, you. Recommended by Dr. Phil, New Method Wellness can help get your life back with individualized treatment plans for dual diagnosis clients. New Method Wellness provides the most highly credentialed treatment in a safe and welcome environment. Call New Method Wellness for your free consultation and ask about our national accreditations. Together, we can put the pieces back together.
Welcome back, everyone. Before we start, I was just thinking that's kind of interesting. I was actually just at New Method Wellness yesterday, so that's kind of weird. Visiting, not going in there. Anyway, let's bring our guest back, Dr. Trina. Welcome back to the show. So during the commercial break, I was thinking about how to connect with you, and we've put up your IG, but also I wanted to make sure that we popped up your website as well, so people can reach you that way. And everybody's websites are a little bit different. I'd love for you to share a little bit about what people can find there.
Yeah. So on my website, obviously it's an about section. It talks about me, talks about, my life as a, first African-American gymnast, moving on to medicine and what I've done as far as my competitions. It also talks about, different speaking engagements that I've done in the past. It also has a video section where it shows my competitions from 2003 when I started this fitness competition to the present. My last competition was April 15th of this year. So it has that on there. It also has my books. My books can be purchased also on my website. And that's that. And also have a section talks about speaking engagements that different topics that I will, talk about. So it's pretty comprehensive.
So as far as speaking, do you speak to corporate or do you speak, who's your typical audience?
Recently, my typical has been various churches. I've also spoken at health fairs. And I've also spoken at like the Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA, the venues where their kids and their parents can come, so that I can talk to them together as a group, especially being a pediatrician.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have this other level of authority, that makes people want to listen. And as we were talking about privately, you have this amazing connectability that, not a lot of doctors do have. So I like that, you're approachable. So, and knowledgeable. I love that so much. So, being a pediatrician, I'm curious, what is one of the biggest issues that you see that you would love that parents would address with their kids?
Number one, by far, is nutrition. In America, we have the SAD diet. I'm sure most people are aware of. And if we can implement good dietary habits at a young age, then we won't see the early onset of diabetes in kids or early onset of, high blood pressure. We need to look at what we're feeding our kids. Perfect example, like I mentioned earlier, when I ask my patients, what do they feed you at school? Cinnamon roll for breakfast and cheese pizza for lunch. Now, when my sons were playing overseas, I had the pleasure of going to Finland, and I had a pleasure of visiting a school there, elementary school. And what did they feed their kids? They had oatmeal with cut up fruit. How hard is it to make a big thing of oatmeal, right? It doesn't make any sense. And when I went, my other son, his twin, played in Brazil. Went there, I was able to see a school. They had something very similar to polenta or grits. And I to this day, I know we have nutritionists or dietitians in the school system. Who says it's okay to eat a cinnamon roll for breakfast?
I just think about the sugar.
Yes. It's incredible. So one cinnamon roll has about 50 grams of sugar. Okay. Same. And that's just insane.
And then we expect our kids to focus and,
Exactly.
think
expect them-
optimally.
Yeah, we expect them to focus. And then when they don't focus, they say, hey, maybe you need some Ritalin.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I'm glad that you brought that up, because I know you have more of a let's try and take care of this organically approach versus let's throw a pill at it approach. And,
right.
I think that a lot of parents, when they take their kids to doctors, for example, they're going to trust the person in the white coat, even if their intuition is saying, I don't know about that. Like,
Right.
What would you suggest to a parent that maybe feels like what their doctor is saying isn't necessarily the best option?
Number one, do your homework, and read information, look it up.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you go speak to your doctor, they're going to say, oh, this patient or this parent has read and is knowledgeable.
Mm-hmm.
So I recommend obviously doing your homework so you can bring up what you've read. And if you don't feel comfortable with that person, then find a physician that you relate to, that looks at things on your point of view, who may be more holistic, who may be more approachable and willing to try holistic measures as opposed to jumping straight to the pill. And there's plenty of physicians out there. They're becoming more prevalent nowadays. Now, back in the day when I finished, everyone was just very traditional. But I think with especially with Dr. Andrew Weil and others, they've kind of opened the door to say this is acceptable. There's not, obviously there's not just one way to skin a cat. You can do it several ways, right? And and get good results. So the key thing is, be knowledgeable, read up on whatever topic that you're questioning, and then say, look, what about this approach? And if and some doctors say, okay, yeah, I agree with that. Some may say no, and if you don't like that, then obviously try to find someone else that is in alignment with how you think.
Exactly. And then also on that, if they say no, if they tell you why, there might be a very good reason why they don't agree with that you didn't know or think of. So
exactly.
But also, yeah, exactly. And I was just kind of thinking about like the idea too of having this unrealistic expectation of one human being having all of the answers for absolutely everything.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, you go to school a lot, but dang, that puts a lot of pressure on you.
Exactly. No, you're right. 100% correct.
Yeah. So I love that. I love it. I mean, the name of the show is Own Your Wellness, right? So
exactly. And exactly own it and do your homework, you know, and certainly when you go somewhere and you're how should I put it, that know what's going on. And it just makes your the doctors see you in a different light. They see you as, oh, this is a person who's read up on the material, and I like seeing that. So I think it's a good thing.
It is, and I mean, I know that I'm not a doctor, but I know I would respect somebody
Absolutely.
that, cared enough about themselves that's what they're going to do is learn as much as they can and be a part of the conversation, be a part of their own wellness as opposed to throwing it all, onto the other person.
You got to exactly. You got to take your own health into your own hands and take the doctor. They're going to help you, but you have to, take part in this too, and not just be, okay, whatever.
Yeah. Well, there's a saying in personal training that I absolutely love, and it's that I can't do your push-ups for you.
Yes.
I can teach you, I can guide you, I can cheer you on, but I can't do them for you.
Absolutely. 100%.
I mean, it's like that with anything, right?
Right. Exactly. No, you like my grandmother used to say, you can take a camel to the water, but you can't make it drink. That she would always say, you have to, pull up your bootstraps and do it.
Yes,
So,
exactly. Well, we only have about 2 minutes left. So I'm just curious if there's any final thoughts that you'd love to share with the audience, or if you would love to reiterate something that you mentioned before.
yes, I just want to reiterate, everyone has to be fit on some level. My fitness is not the same as yours, Julie, or someone else's, but we all need to have our own unique level of fitness. And there's a lot of people out there who just don't exercise. And I always look at it as a spectrum. We have those who goes to the 10th degree to exercise and others who do nothing. I'm trying to reach those people who do nothing to try to make it make sense to them. Why is it important? We want to be around to see our grandchildren, running and playing. Oftentimes, when I did nutrition and fitness camps back in the day, I would have this big poster, and it compared the lives of two women. And one woman had, ate the right food. She exercised. The other woman was eating pizza, soda, didn't exercise, was laying around. They went through each aspect of her life, each decade. And when they reached 60, the one who did not lead a healthy lifestyle was in a wheelchair and had a stack of medications in front of her. And I asked those kids, I said, at the end of the day, who do you want to be? And one was Maria and Brianna. No one wanted to be Maria. No one. I did so many of these camps, and I would start that camp with that poster, and it really hit home, and the kids really got it. And so that's what I'm trying to promote. Let's be proactive. Let's practice prevention. Let's teach our kids to eat the right foods, and to start exercising early. So
I love that. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate you, and just even being able to share the space with you. So much fun. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you. All right, everyone. That is all the time that we have for today. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you again soon.